This episode of The Watch is presented to you by Amazon Prime. Ever have a plan come together out of nowhere and realize you're missing something? Like a last-minute beach day, a spontaneous hike, or an outdoor movie night you didn't plan for? That's when Prime same-day delivery has your back, getting you exactly what you need, fast and reliably, so you can actually join the moment instead of watching from the sidelines. Same-day delivery, it's on Prime. Visit amazon.com/prime to find millions of items delivered fast, available in select areas. Terms apply.
I need support staff to clear the room. Stand up and walk. Now.
Hello and welcome to The Watch. My name is Chris Ryan. I am an editor at TheRinger.com, and joining me in the studio, wondering if Hamish Linklater can play stretch four for the Sixers, it's Andy Greenwald!
Look at the way you wove it together.
Yeah, all of our interests. Widows Bay, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Free
Andy,
agency.
Free agency. It's great to see you. Today on the menu, let me tell you a little bit how we do things at this restaurant.
Yeah, great.
It's small plates. They're meant to be shared.
Great.
It's farm to table.
How many do we need per diner?
We're going to do the most recent 2 episodes of Widows Bay, which both came out this week.
I'm going to stop you before you even start. We're going to do the last 4 episodes of Widows Bay because we're not on the record together about any of them since episode 3.
Oh, so you obviously didn't listen to any of my monologuing.
No, I heard that you did it. I said we're not on the record.
And we also are going to talk about Spider-Noir. We're going to talk about the most recent episode of Euphoria and the most recent episode of Top Chef.
Man.
I also have some news at the top, but it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've seen your beautiful visage in person.
You've been traveling a lot.
Not that much. Really? I took 2 trips within the United States.
2 trips within the United States within the last 2 weeks. That's traveling a lot.
That is traveling a lot. I did it. Pacific Northwest and...
what are you trying to hide?
What do I do? I'm just raising a lot of money.
You're bundling.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to see you. You can reach us at thewatch@spotify.com. I noticed we just got a flood of new emails. Every once in a while, I got to tell you, we're getting to the point where we might be able to do an Andy-only, Effingers-only mailbag.
Stop it.
But it's all
Stop
just people being
me.
like, I'm going to read Effingers too.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of gonna. I don't see a lot of actual page turning. You know what I mean?
You can follow us on Instagram at @thewatchpod_. You can watch us on YouTube at the Ringer-TV channel, where we're there with the Prestige TV pod. And you can watch us on Spotify, where I hope you listen to us, but we're also available elsewhere where you listen to podcasts.
Is our email address, has anyone signed it up for any Act Blue emails or recurring donations?
No, doesn't seem like it. I mean, I do get a lot of I feel like I've seen an uptick in random PR emails where I'm like, you don't know your audience. Would you guys be interested in covering the Iron Man race? But not Tony Stark, but guys who have to run, swim, and bike.
I thought it was going to be Tony Stark versus Iron Heart. You know what I mean?
No.
Versus War Machine.
I always kind of had a sneaking suspicion that I might be able to do an Iron Man.
Okay, hold on.
But
this is the earliest time I've ever closed my laptop.
Just in the, I can do all 3 things.
You know what?
But I can't, I don't know if I could, how long I could do them. Is there an Iron Man for softies, soft batch
Iron Boys? An Iron Boy competition where you get on a little
Does anybody know
tricycle?
about an Iron Boy competition? I could look at.
Wait. When was the
Maybe
first
it's
time?
on an island somewhere.
When was the first time? Careful. The first time you ever learned about the Iron Man competition?
80s ESPN.
Right. So
Yeah.
basically, I'm gonna ventriloquize this for you. I feel like we probably had a similar experience. Maybe you're home from school one day and you turn on the Ocho or ESPN Dos at 2:35 p.m. on a
Dude, it was
Tuesday.
on Flagship. But they didn't always have college football, bro.
So you
they
turn
used
it
to
on,
show some crazy shit.
and you would just see someone weeping, running in a Speedo. Which is usually would be Cinemax at 11:30 p.m. on a Friday. But in this case, it was the middle of the day. And I also was entranced by this for exactly the reason you said. I can physically do those 3 actions.
Yeah, I was kind of it actually seems like it would be refreshing to take a dip after a long
thought. And you know what else I thought was
ride.
really good about it? I thought the order was reasonable.
So what is it? It goes swim, bike, run?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Someone can Google that for us while we go here.
Honestly, the only thing that bothers me about it is wouldn't I get a little chilly on the bike after getting out of the ocean?
Yeah, because my only reference for this wasn't that sports were hard and I wasn't qualified to do them. It was, my favorite feeling isn't getting out of the ocean. I'd love to dry for a little bit so I don't chafe. But 100% you have locked in on something that I haven't thought about in decades, which at no point did I think I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's something to put on my list.
I think as only children, we had no tutelage. Our fathers, they turned their backs on us at an early age.
Certainly athletically.
But I didn't have an older brother to be like, this is how you bowl. So a lot of what I do, much like Natasha Henstridge in Species, is mimicry. You know? And so you see someone
you say is very sexual and violent at the end. But okay. Your version works too.
I would watch a guy bowl on ESPN, and if there was a bowling birthday party, I would do like an elaborate, like kind of fucking.
You would go for spin?
Yeah, I would be DeJesus, and I would like throw a ball 6 lanes left because I'm not like a professional bowler, and I'm not an Ironman, but I probably would start really strong. The other thing, and I'm sorry to delay on the wide world of sports that we're going to talk about today.
This is more interesting than the last 2 episodes of Euphoria.
It makes it seem, I'm kind of under the impression that we've made like great leaps in protein intake in the last 7 years.
But like you and Craig, or like who?
No, just like gels, bars, all those things.
Like you could put it into more.
But did like guys back then, if they needed protein during like a race, like just eat turkey, or what would they do? Like
the pace car for the Ironman triathlon was the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, and it would drive alongside the athletes, and the athletes would take ham and salami, and they would eat it, and then they would light a cigarette. As they ran. It was a purer time. Here's the secret. Everybody was fine.
Yeah, no, I know.
Everybody was fine.
Those guys all lived forever.
Did they?
I don't know.
Their hearts exploded in Maui. When they were like, you're too old for this. And they're like, I'm 25.
Well, there was that Dennis Leary bit for a while where it's always like joggers who die of heart attacks. Oh, no, that was about joggers who get hit by buses. Never mind.
You could iterate.
I could. I have a lot of, I feel like I have a Dennis Leary-esque quality to me sometimes.
You've both been in Boston.
Yeah. I've been to Boston.
You're wearing denim. You secretly want to be a dramatic actor.
I do.
You love firemen. Should I stop?
What do you want to start with news-wise? So we have...
That was exhilarating. I don't care what we do now.
Okay, so I have one thing for you, which is a new segment I'm introducing to the Watch podcast.
Oh, and just, for first-time listeners, of which I'm sure there are 0, as with every other segment.
This will be a consistent staple for 2 weeks of this show.
And I've never been prepped on it.
Yeah. Well, often, here's a behind the curtain. I will be like, it's time for us to do this segment. And you're like, I don't have, like, remember, I'm like, oh, what are we reading this week? Like, or watch of the week. What did we watch this weekend? And you'd be like, nothing. Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then you Instagram and you're like, look at this cool book I read,
Yeah, because
I think you save a little bit of your stuff for IG.
That's for my personal brand.
That's right.
Which is floundering. So if you could give me a cosign or a retweet.
So here's our new segment.
Yeah.
It's called Your Silence is Deafening.
This is great. This is great. I'm already in on this.
It's been 48 whole hours.
We say this to each other all the time on text.
And you have not publicly commented on Tom Hardy's exile from MobLand.
Not publicly, but I've been huddling with my team, trying to craft the correct response. So
while you spin your wheels trying to decide how you're going to phrase this.
Because to be clear, I did prep a statement, but it was flagged. It was really came in too hard.
For folks who don't know, MobLand is a show on Paramount Plus. It was created by Ronan Bennett, who did Top Boy, and then taken over, showrun and executive produced, written by Jez Butterworth, who also does a show we're going to discuss in a second called The Agency. And Jez Butterworth is an accomplished screenwriter and playwright in England. He apparently, according to reports, had a falling out with Tom Hardy, which is not the first time this has happened with Tom Hardy. The second season of MobLand is completed, and it was announced, strangely, I thought, since I don't think the third season has been renewed or greenlit, that Tom Hardy would no longer be on the show, that there was some sort of ultimatum, Butterworth or Hardy, and it seems like Jez Butterworth had won that fight. Then, hilariously, I think, a lot of leaked kind of accounts of Tom Hardy behavior.
Yes.
I saw some counter narratives flying around certain circles. Yeah. And then as of today, the last thing I saw was that, and this is not from a super reputable source, was that there is some efforts to bring Hardy back into the fold.
Oh, who's leading that charge?
Who's leading that charge in the media, or who's leading that charge like to do that? I think David Glasser, who is like the kind of
Right.
101 Studios impresario who also oversees a lot of Taylor Sheridan stuff. Where everybody's waiting. Where do you land, Mirren or Hardy?
Oh, I'm on the clock now?
Yeah.
Wait, so you as one of the media's biggest Tom Hardy
Dude,
boosters.
If anybody's ever listened to me, they're gonna know.
Yeah.
Look, it is what it is. If you sign Tom Hardy up, man, you sign up for the whole ride. You can't get off midway.
I would
Can't
say
get off after season 2.
there are certain things. I've been referencing this a lot because I love it, and he's been saying this for years. But our friend and colleague Brian Curtis's Now They Tell Us notebook dump, which is the piece that appears after a coach is fired or someone is
at the
deposed.
end of the season. Yeah.
Yes, and suddenly like all the reporting that they didn't feel they could source or verify or even report on freely, they can now say because that person is out of the building. The Oppo dump for the big anti-Tom Hardy lobby was locked and loaded.
Yes.
This is not a secret that he is challenging
Just
in the workspace.
read Kyle Buchanan's Fury Road book.
Yes, and so while I appreciate your Bane
Watch
boosterism, or join the rest of us in not watching Taboo, I think that I'm just curious. I'm going to float a hypothetical for you.
Okay.
Let's say that you were scheduled to do a podcast with me, and at the appointed hour, you arrived, sat down, and I was nowhere to be seen. Now, so far, this is not a hypothetical. This is every week other than today.
Yeah, but then you come bustling in 3 minutes late, and you're just like, apologies.
What? Is that what I sound like? Jesus Christ. So sorry, everyone. There was a horrid mess on the tube this morning. Tom Hardy, according to the accounts in Kyle Buchanan's book, left Charlize Theron sitting in the, I believe the term is war rig, for 3 hours before sauntering onto set.
Well, I think he was trying to locate his voice, you know? He was trying to
What do you locate? It's always at the bottom of an old well. It's always the same voice. What are you talking about?
I think Hollywood, I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt or be in any kind of physical danger. I do find stories of on-set, like, cultural or personality clashes to be pretty interesting to read about. If Hollywood never had any of those, it would be a little bit less interesting to read about.
Okay, that's fair.
You know?
It's just, I don't know. Are you that concerned about the third season of MobLand?
No, and I didn't really like the first season of MobLand that much. I mean, I watched, I think I finished it. I can't remember. But it was just one of those things that I knocked out like 2 episodes on a plane ride kind of thing after the first couple of episodes. And I love that cast. And I think, it's been a strange show. It was initially, the idea was it was going to be the Ray Donovan spinoff. Then I think it kind of mutated into half Gangs of London, half Yellowstone set, in London with this crime family. And some of the reporting suggests Hardy's been a little bit aggrieved by the fact that it went from being a Tom Hardy show to a Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren show. And it sounds like he and Mirren specifically are butting heads. Allegedly.
I mean,
I wouldn't want Big Mirren getting her litigation bag against me.
What if, Helen Mirren doesn't care about what we say, but her husband, Taylor Hackford, is incredibly litigious and a longtime listener of The Watch.
I'm not entirely sure that's the case. Helen Mirren may very well care what I say.
Wow. You've changed since your trip.
No, I'm just saying,
she might.
I still maintain, I know for a fact Taylor Hackford has listened to Proof of Life. I think there is a
We listened to the
Proof of Life rewatchables. There is a 50% chance that he was like, you're going to get a kick out of this, and played it for Helen Mirren. And then there is a 25% chance within that she was like, this is my favorite podcast. I love these guys.
Keep playing out this. Then there's a 10% chance that what?
I don't know.
That she's like, let me deep dive this guy's podcast career. Music Exists was really, really thought-provoking. And then she makes the full connection after reading all of Chuck's books
also,
that you're the one playing pool.
Let me just add, there is a non-zero chance that Tom Hardy's also doing this to get off the show, which sometimes happens.
I think the most interesting segue for me from this is that MobLand has the kind of incredibly contemporary, representative.
Did you watch an episode of this?
Yeah, the first 2.
Yeah.
Torturous development cycle of many, many shows of the moment. Particularly, we're going to get to Spider-Noir in a minute. What is that? I feel like there's a it's not a meme, but I feel like it is a saying that like if you put the dev boys on something, you're going to end up with like a fish with feet. Or like,
oh yeah.
I'm getting the analogy wrong, but there's some idea that if you keep developing something, you will end up with something that is so far from the initial purpose that you're not even sure why it exists.
Sure.
And I kind of feel that way about MobLand. It's fine, and all of the people in it are good, but I don't know. I'm chasing after an observation that I can't quite land about. Like, that's what Tom Hardy's doing. Okay,
I
I'm
got
fine
the
with it
impression
either
when
way.
this first started, when MobLand, if I remember correctly, I can't believe how long we're spending on this. I believe he said,
You love it.
I want to be in London, close to my
Right.
family. This is a steady gig that I like.
That
you
is
know?
so close to what I said about Harry Potter. There was just one. What was the word he said that he wanted to be close to?
His family.
Right.
Um,
He's figured it out, man.
So another show that is on Paramount Plus, along with MobLand, is The Agency. And The Agency is coming back, I think, June 21st.
June.
And I'm pairing The Agency's return with the return of a bit maligned show on Apple TV, but one that is close to your heart. A passion project of yours, which is Sugar, the Colin Farrell detective show. Also returning for its second season. Honestly, surprisingly, it's been 2 years, it seems like.
Okay.
Has it?
I don't know. Sure. Yeah.
When was Sugar on your top 10, insanely enough?
It was not on my top 10.
Oh, yes, it was.
No, it was not.
Didn't you put Sugar in your top 10?
No, I love to zag. I love to surprise and delight you. But no, sir.
I'm just going to look up Sugar season 1. Excuse me.
I promise no. I think that I said that the pilot was one of my favorite pilots of the last few
It's
years.
2024 is when it debuted.
Wow.
And
It was a
it's
different time.
2026 now.
It was Joe Biden's favorite show.
Yeah.
We've changed. Maybe that's what you're mistaking me with. Also, isn't it funny that this is the new normal where we are talking about these shows? It's like, oh, The Agency's coming back, Sugar's coming back with its normal 2-year gestation process.
Agency was last year, wasn't it?
No.
Damn. Really? That was also Joe Biden's favorite show?
Uh,
Joe Biden loves The Agency. You know what I
Do you
mean?
think?
Yeah. I was Googled Joe Biden, The
Joe
Agency.
Biden, The Agency? What are you going to get if you do that? Yeah, anyway.
2024.
Yeah,
You're right.
no way of knowing,
What
but I'm
the
glad
fuck?
you Googled it. Okay, which one do you want to talk about first? Let's
I
talk
want
about
to talk about, like, well, first of all, you're like you alluded to, coming back after such a long interval, but also where you're at with these, like the opportunity for, since we're doing a lot more recurring television now than in recent years, a show that maybe was wrong-footed at certain points in its first season,
Right.
tonally was still trying to find its voice, etc. Which one of these do you think has the biggest opportunity or the most likely opportunity, highest likelihood of improving in its second season?
Well, I will start by saying both have delivered excellent trailers for their second season.
They sure have.
No question about it. And both, if you were just going by the trailers, present a pretty exciting vision of 2020's television where very attractive movie stars fully embrace the genre trappings of that are really possible to explore within serialized television. So that's cool. I think that said, there is no question. I'll just say this now: like The Agency season 2 is going to be much better than Sugar
Because we
season
know
2.
what it's about, because it's based on Le Bureau,
Yeah,
so we know where season 2 goes.
So let's separate the conversation for a second to say that The Agency, one of our favorite shows of 2 years ago, both because it was stylish and incredibly well acted and was low-key a pretty good London hang show, despite all of the stress
All
that
the
Martian was
barbecuing.
going through. It is, as you said, it is a fairly devout adaptation of one of the greatest shows probably ever on television, the French series Le Bureau. And as the season progressed, I think it started to develop its own kind of chilly swagger that suggested that it was going to deviate in ways, maybe not always plot, but in terms of the delivery of the plot in ways that felt kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And the second season of Le Bureau is better than the first season, with a lot of very cool set pieces and moments of tension. And this trailer looks so sick. It made me so excited to watch it. And it actually made me appreciate even more how nice it was to have such a quality, consistent entertainment for those 10 weeks 2 years ago.
One of the crazy things about The Agency is that, it's got a pretty star-studded cast. Jeffrey Wright, Richard Gere, Catherine Waterston.
Richard Gere's Homer's dad from Euphoria?
Yes.
Okay.
Carrie Lowell and Richard Gere's son
Mm.
is Homer. Well, Dylan on Euphoria. That's the character.
I just wanted to make it relevant to our young TikTok fans.
They will have more to do this season based on. So if you were watching season 1 and you were like, Richard Gere's in like 6 scenes and Catherine Waterston's not on this show really.
Barely.
And John McGarrow, like, what's he doing? You know, they'll have stuff to do this season.
It looks awesome.
It does. Sugar.
Okay.
So, okay. I can't even, we can't have this conversation without spoiling an element of Sugar. Many people listening are probably like, what are these guys talking about? I haven't even heard of Sugar. Sugar came out 2 years ago. Detective show set in California, LA, like I mentioned. It stars Colin Farrell.
Yep.
People sometimes ask, do I have to watch the first season to start the second season? We have started to push the limits on what we are capable of with that.
Yeah.
I would like to take
like triathletes.
5 seconds of just staring at you and maybe vamping.
Sure.
And in 1 second, we are going to spoil
we are.
a big part of what makes Sugar Sugar.
And you know why we're going to do it? Because fucking Tim Apple doesn't want you to know.
He doesn't want us to know.
This trailer hides the ball. And by the ball, I mean one of the great television bag fumbles in recent history.
Do you know what I said when I watched this trailer? Are you having a fucking laugh?
Yeah, because this is a trailer for the show Sugar should have been. And let me tell you, it's not.
But also, it's like, is this the first season of Sugar?
Also, you can't just trailer your way into the movie you wish it was. We've seen this fail in movies again and again.
3, 2, 1. Colin Farrell's character on Sugar
is a fucking alien.
Yes.
He's a blue spaceman.
When does that come out?
Like episode 5.
Right.
It's excruciating.
Did you know that, like, when you were watching it?
No.
And then he's an alien.
Yeah, and then I stood up, went out for a pack of cigarettes.
Never came home.
Never smoked them.
Did you? Yeah. I think I stopped watching Sugar. Does his alienhood play a major role in the second half of the season?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dude. Wouldn't it in yours?
I don't know. This second season trailer makes it look like he loves boxing. Like, I don't know.
Look, we don't know. I keep waiting for DJT to tell us what aliens love. I keep hearing there's a press conference coming.
I know.
And maybe it's like they love noir movies.
A lot of people on the streets are like aliens right now.
Yeah.
They're coming up to me with tears in their eyes.
No, that's just the Alien Earth FYC campaign, which is all over town.
Yeah, this is a huge twist in the show that they are not giving away in the trailer.
Because it is a fucking
the second season
anchor around the neck of what could have been good. It is. I wish I had done the prep to prepare for the same thing. The fucking fish with feet. This is what we have here. Like, it's okay to do a small thing well.
Yes.
Like, Ina Garten made a whole career out of it, and she should work at Apple TV, frankly, because you have Colin Farrell, one of the most stylish and compelling and charismatic actors of our time, looking incredible in beautiful suits, driving a sports car in a neon
Colin Farrell Rockford Files
tinged. Yes, but like also really embracing the idea of like what LA light looks like and what a noir would look like in bright color, not in whatever fucking rinky-dink Technicolor they did to Spider-Noir to try to appeal to multiple audiences at once. We'll get there.
This is coming attractions for Andy's Spider-Noir taste.
I'm just saying. And that would have, in the great words of the fucking Seder dinner, Dayenu, like that would have been enough.
Yeah.
But instead they were like, no, there's also a secret society because this guy likes noir movies because he's an alien. We don't needed that. We don't need that.
Do you think that Colin Farrell signed up for this to play a detective or an alien?
I think Colin Farrell signed up for this for a chance to wear suits that weren't fucking fat suits in the back lot of Warner Brothers doing Penguin.
Yeah.
And yet, he does have to wear an alien suit at some points in the show. In a perfect world, this show gets renewed because they're like, just do the parts that work. We don't care that he's an alien. That's fine. And maybe they did lean into it because they beefed up the cast. Like you were pointing it out. Like,
yeah, Shea Wiggum, Sasha Kaye, Tony Dalton, like a really great ensemble.
The plot already looks more interesting than the kind of...
It looks like a detective investigating like a missing boxer, and then Tony Dalton, Lalo from Better Call Saul, plays a sheriff's deputy, I think, and Shea Wiggum seems to be a fixer.
It's just so weird to me. And I don't know, like at a time when Widow's Bay is on the docket for us to talk about, like I'm definitely giving I don't really want to rail on Apple's development process for why this happened the way it happened. And even within the context of it's an alien show and a detective show, the big reveal being slow walked to episode 5 was also such a weird fumble in season 1. Anyway, it's just a bummer because I watched that trailer and I was like, this is a show I want. And I think they're probably smart to do that and say like, look, all the stars are on Apple and they're all kind of doing genre stuff and you'll have a good time with this. Listener, I don't know if that's true.
Well, I can assure you that we'll at least give the second season a college try. I'll jump back in. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't care anymore. You don't care.
You showed me the way. You led me down the path of we don't have to watch TV to talk about TV.
I was a trailblazer in that field.
Let's be positive.
Okay.
And let's talk about Widow's Bay. Widow's Bay released 2 episodes this week for a very clear purpose. These 2 episodes are linked in ways that I found, just like this series itself, surprising and delightful. Episode 6 is called Our History, and it's directed by Ty West.
It was a big deal.
Great horror director, directed Pearl and Maxine and X, and he directed House of the Devil. Like, he's a great horror director. Also directed a really cool, like Brian Jonestown kind of Jonestown-esque movie called The Sacrament that I really liked. Anyway, he directed this episode, Our History, which is set in 1702.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Betty Gilpin as Sarah Westcott, who comes to the Widow's Bay Island betrothed to Richard Warren, who is the town, you could say, leader, savior, captor. And Richard Warren's played by Hamish Linklater, kind of in a sly nod, I think, to his Midnight Mass character, who was also a priest who worked on in a rural island. And when we find these 2 uniting in 1702, a plague of violent insanity is kind of gripping the island.
Reminiscent of what we saw in The Fog in the premiere episode.
That's right. And Sarah finds herself in the center of these proceedings and attempts to save herself and Warren's children as he and some of this townsfolk aim to stop her. Should we talk about these episodes separately or together?
I would like to actually take one, if I may, brief step back just to contextualize our conversation of these episodes.
Sugar and his journey.
When they revealed that he was an alien, Widow's Bay is the best television show of the year to such a staggering degree.
On a poster. Look who's trying to get an FYC campaign.
Let me try again. Which camera? Widow's Bay is the best television show of the year. M- Andy Greenwald, comma, primary host of the Watch podcast.
Whoa!
That's for the poster.
Primary.
You were traveling.
Okay.
Of course, I was gone for a week too. But anyway, my point is, this show is so good in a way that staggers, humbles, and delights me. Like, my experience watching it is such that I am enjoying it, I'm laughing, I'm riveted, and I can't stop thinking at every moment of all of the brilliant creative decisions that went into almost every frame of it. Before we even talk about these episodes, we can talk about like the directorial and cinematograph and camera choices that are involved in a show this specific, this tonally and aesthetically specific, that shifts. It's a period piece this week. Previous week, it was a crazy drug trip.
Mm-hmm.
There have been, I believe, 4 directors so far. Hiro Murai, Sam Donovan, Ty West,
Andrew DeYoung,
who works with Tim Robinson a lot and is fantastic. There is no aberration from episode to episode.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that you see in a long-running show where there's enough of a book on it and a style guide that when people come on, they feel comfortable knowing what it is they're stepping into. To do that from a cold stop is just remarkable.
Yeah.
The tonal balance of this show, to be legitimately scary, to be legitimately funny, and to be legitimately emotionally gripping is something I've never seen done before. And it's doing it in such it's subtle in the sense that this is not a giant, expensive, starry adaptation of something. It is not based on pre-existing material. It was not presented to us as the next big show. The way that it was put together with just this like quiet, confident competence and occasional brilliance is wild to me. It's wild to me.
Co-sign everything you just said.
And by the way, I know this isn't really a valuable comment, but everyone's talking about that.
Yes.
Like everyone, when I have conversations with people, someone will be like, oh my God, the editing. The editing is so exceptional.
Oh.
Someone will say, oh, notice Allison Jones, the legendary casting director, Freaks and Geeks, Barbie, The Office, Veep. She worked on this. And you can tell, like down to the guest stars week to week. I'm blown away.
Well, and to your point, several shows that I have been from not engaged to highly engaged with over the last couple of weeks have come out on Netflix and Amazon. Spider-Noir, for instance, dropped its whole season.
Yep.
Legends we talked about, like the Burrows on Netflix I talked about with Joe last week. Feels like in the sort of larger conversation, their moment's already come and gone in some ways because your engagement with a binge is individual and personal. Nobody is on the same page. You can feel Widow's Bay uptick in group chats and in conversations at, I'm sure, school pickup or whatever, where it's like, what are you watching? Or like dinner parties or conversations at restaurants. And it's like people are picking up on Widow's Bay. They are catching up on Widow's Bay. They are excited about Widow's Bay. I feel like there was like almost like an awareness that this is a special 2-part event this week. Completely agree with you. There's also something like, how I always, I hear Sam Esmail in my head where it's like, you cannot get mad at a piece of art for what it didn't do.
He was talking to me.
But like, you can't be mad about the choices that it makes. It's like, you have to evaluate the choice it did make, not what it could have done.
Right.
I want to just say that in less sure hands or in a less certain showrunner's hands, like other than Katie Dippold, like this art history episode would have been Drunk History. It would have been Betty Gilpin doing kind of Krasinski Jim Office faces while all this stuff is happening, because she basically is doing a note perfect 18th century like Puritan woman, but also doing Amy Poehler in Parks and Rec. Like she has comic timing and she is giving it a modern sensibility. I think that is like, as soon as I got here, I was like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like she has like that kind of like, I know you're watching me and this is a break from this show's reality.
Yes.
But I'm going to be consistent with the way Matthew Rhys reacts to things on the island as well, even though it's 300 years apart.
How did they do that?
I don't know.
How did they do a 300-year flashback episode with the confidence of a show that has been running for multiple seasons?
Yes.
There's these subtle choices that I'm dazzled by. Like we watched the first episode and we raved about it, and then we watched the second one, and I think we took time to praise the fact that the show seemingly pitched itself in the first episode as, here comes the big trouble. Like this is going to be an event series, for lack of a better word. But then almost immediately it walked it back. The tourists did come, and there was suddenly more space for episodic situational comedy or hijinks of this type of horror film, this type of horror story. And I was ready to settle into a perceived take of, that's pretty smart for a show that might run multiple seasons, made by someone who worked on Parks and Rec, for example.
Yeah.
Then I realized it was doing both at the same time. To make the commitment to do the flashback to the island's founder and then deal with that character and blow it up.
This is exactly where I
with
wanted to
multiple episodes to go is a level of confidence in the larger story project that is remarkable. And it caused me to go back, though, and notice all the little smart decisions, like the fact that episode 3, Sea Hag, and episode 4, Beach Reads, which is a contender for episode of the year, are happening concurrently. So playing with time in a way to pre-address the idea.
Beach Reads is the Patricia episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
To almost counter the criticism that it can't, that befouls a lot of television, which is it can't be the most important thing that's ever happened if we have time for a bottle episode or a side quest. All of these things are not amateur decisions. You know, they are not rash decisions. They are thoughtful, considered decisions that are paying off the story. And so all of that is preamble to say these two episodes were ballsy as hell. And I'm glad they dropped them together, which is another smart decision.
When they were digging him up at the end of, I think at the end of Our History, they start digging him up.
Yep.
I was like, that was cool. And I'm sure they're digging him up to get the necklace, right? Or something, you know?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's not what they did.
This is comic screenwriting that is being applied to a sort of chamber horror drama where it's like, what if he was still alive in that box? And then what if Hamish Linklater was just on this show for an episode? And what if instead of being unfrozen caveman lawyer who's freaking out about like there being electricity and stuff, he's actually like, I've decided I need to die because I've been tortured for hundreds of years. And then he's like, actually, I kind of want to live.
Can I throw one more what if at you? What if our meaning the audience's introduction to his resurrection, or he never died, the fact that he's still alive, is played entirely through the perspective of Tom waking up from one of the most hellacious 24-hour mushroom trips in recorded history, so that he shows up and Richard is already upstairs.
Yes.
There is no jump scare in the coffin.
And Patricia is rattled and Wick has already cut his hand trying to open. Like there has already been all this stuff happening while Tom is like, I've been asleep for a day.
That is another sign of filmmaker confidence, storyteller confidence, that we don't need to hit every potential
It's funnier
spike.
to have them be like, don't open that. We tried that already.
We already did it. We're behind. Our main character is behind the story.
Yeah, so in Seasickness, which is directed by Sam Donovan, as Andy mentioned, who worked on Skins and Severance and The Crown, and written by Dave Harris. I've seen this. Many people say this has got a lot of Jaws juice on it, and
Jaws juice.
Yeah, well, just like the
Is that
three
like
of them
sea
on
chum?
the boat
What is that?
singing and kind of looking for something out there. I thought this was a really cool episode, and I really liked how, even though it's basically all shot within the cockpit of Wick's boat, the time it takes to be like, here's the practical amount of space and time that needs to be covered. He has to get to this buoy, but Wick can't go past the buoy. Tom can. Richard needs to be evaporated into bones, but you never leave anything, and it isn't an exposition dump, but you do get a sense of like, oh, when's Wick going to get off the boat, and how is Tom going to be able to sail the dinghy, and what
are the rules?
Yeah, what are the rules? And it's still only 40 minutes or whatever it is, and it still flies by and has time for a B plot of Evan discovering that his mother at least didn't die during childbirth, if not is, I would imagine. I'm starting to wonder if she's still alive somewhere, right?
Well, I think, are we now on to Supposition Corner? I mean, I think, I don't know if this is like...
Supposition Corner could be another recurring segment for us.
I don't know if it's going to go well for us. I don't know.
Not as good as Your Silence is Deafening.
That was awesome. Yeah. I'm a little spooked because this is the week, because the Knicks swept their way to the finals.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a basketball team. That all of the video footage of NBA experts being like, the Knicks overpaid for Jalen Brunson, and this is not the kind of signing that will get you to the finals.
Becky Hammond being like, you'll never win with a small guard.
I'm just saying, I want to be very careful now that I know that these takes live forever. I didn't know that until this week. I didn't know that all of these podcasts remained on Spotify.
Well, if we talked about anything of consequence, I think that might matter. But since we're mostly talking about, did you ever watch Iron Man?
That dude was an alien. Okay, that's fair. No, so... Well, okay, I could say this as a supposition corner, or I could say it about like the watching a show that is made by people who know what they're doing is just such a pleasure. But in the second episode, when Tom locks himself into the hotel overnight, we do see weird paintings and scary paintings. And we see that also in the first episode when he's touring Bashir Soledin through the museum or whatever. And I think when we saw that, we were like, well, Katie Dippold really learned from Parks and Rec about how funny historical shit can be.
Yes.
One of the paintings in the hotel is of what appears to be a toddler loose at sea. And I feel like I'm not the only person. I've not read any coverage of the show yet, but like that is clearly the Richard's daughter who received the brooch coming off of the boat, making it back to the mainland, and then beginning a bloodline that ends with Tom's son.
Look at the big brain on Brad.
This is probably the most covered
Damn, dog,
idea.
That's my job, is to go digging in the crates for that kind of stuff.
That
that's
just appeared
shit.
in this crate.
That
was straight from my brain crate.
There's many ways to watch this show. And you can watch it with a scalpel, or you can watch it and you can sit there and just marvel at the comic tone and the spooks and the creaks in the night. It's great.
I think I mean this as praise. I don't care. that this kid is related to the founder of the island. Like, my enjoyment of the show is not dependent on
I had
lore.
seen some people be like, they should have thrown the bones overboard because I think they bring Richard's bones back.
There's ways they should have behaved. That's a cool way to watch television.
No, I mean, that will probably come back to literally haunt them, that they did not get rid of Richard's bones.
And his Vienna sausages.
Yes. If you were Richard, and you're 330 some years old,
yeah,
isn't a gift shop blowing your mind? Aren't you just like, holy shit?
I'm on a t-shirt.
Yeah. There's lights.
I don't know. I was basically, living alone.
You're like, the Knicks have gotten how far with a small guard?
Dude, I'm just like, I was living alone in London, one of the greatest cities in the world, for 7 weeks, and I almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
He was in a box for 300 years, and he came out pretty chill.
I know. Take that, Nate.
I'm just saying.
Maybe keep it together a little.
Yeah, chill out. Yeah, so I was okay with that. He's a little bit touched, he's a little bit different kind of guy. Buried alive, having a moment?
Yeah. Top 5 burials alive. Alive burials.
Don't list the other 3.
The Bride.
Oh, you want to do the other 3? Because this could burn us if there's another one we're forgetting.
The Bride, the Ryan Reynolds movie, Buried.
Which was a remake of a Danish movie, right?
Of course you know that, yeah.
This is what it means to be. This is the international sign for being buried.
How would you know that?
Because the movie was in Danish, and I didn't understand any of it, except when the guy was like this.
Who's another really good buried alive person?
Nicky Santoro in Casino.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler. Sorry.
Nicky's barely alive when he goes in.
I don't think that's a distinction that's worth noting.
Yeah, don't they hit him with a bat like 150 times?
Yeah, but he's alive. I'm not saying he's alive for long, but
Burials alive. Hit us up, thewatchatspotify.com. Let us know your favorite.
That'd be good.
Evan, now you've talked a little bit about the links you're seeing, the theories you're theorizing about. He is an example of another thing that this show does really well, which is it can have storylines that last 25 minutes and are deeply satisfying. It can have storylines that last multiple episodes, like, say, the mushroom trip, which obviously has after effects. If you were Tom and you had just tripped your balls off for multiple days, you'd probably be like, am I still high when you meet a 300-year-old man? But it turns out he shares something in common with him because the mushrooms spoke to both of them. The Evan plot is obviously, like, I guess, would you call this a season-long runner? Is this guy's rebellion and search for self?
Yeah, and by the way, Kingston Rumi Southwick, who plays the kid, is the presumed innocent cast having a moment.
Yes.
Him and Chase Infinity both having
They are
good
having
careers.
a moment, yes.
He's great.
Yeah.
I think that it's just the smart construction where it is often rebellious teenage characters are created purely to exist as stress and plot creators for the main character, but this kid is given the dignity of his own plot line. Like, there's a tiny moment in the episode where he is, called out or caught by Bashir, the sheriff, and he says to him, would it be cool if when I turned around to go back to my friends, I yelled, "Fuck you, pig"? Yes. And Bashir says, absolutely not. But then the camera cuts back to him to smile about it. And it's like, that's a human moment in a show that would otherwise, might not need to have room for that. I do want to digress again, which I know is off brand for this podcast, especially today. But as our resident pharmaceuticals expert, you were asking, Tom's experience in the previous 2 episodes ago, was that similar or dissimilar to when we met for the second time ever on the streets of South Philadelphia?
I don't think my mushroom
in 1996.
experience was nearly as intense as those guys. I think that they were dealing with some serious shit. Mine was like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
That night.
Yeah.
And largely enjoyable, other than seeing the Death Star in the sky.
Oh.
And maybe feeling like I was in Apocalypse Now.
Somehow the Death Star
and
has
then
returned.
My buddy tried to climb into like a 2x2 shelf in his closet.
How'd that go?
Didn't work. I mean, but he was like, I'm going in there.
But what's weird is, and people want the full story of this can listen to the Train Spotting episode of Rewatchables. Sure. I think we get into this great granular detail. But
we should create a lore playlist for
But my memory of what was weird about my experience was that me and my girlfriend at the time were walking downtown towards Tower Records to buy the Tribe Called Quest record that came out that night. but we
You
were
do the
stopped.
work.
I do the work. Hashtag ally before that was a thing. We were walking and we were stopped by...
Is that the Love Movement? Or
No,
Beats,
Rhymes, and Life.
Okay.
We were stopped by police officers from walking down a street saying, no big deal, can you go around? There is a suspect on the loose on this street.
Did you
And
ever find
then
that guy, you know?
a block later, I see your ass and you're just like, hey, what's up? Now, did you interact at all with the police activity that night?
If I did.
Because I think that would have freaked you out.
I don't think I did. I was aware of that activity. But you know
You
what?
were focused on the big picture in the sky.
I also think Philly PD, they try to keep the crowds moving. You know what I mean? Like it's...
They always say it.
Yeah. Man, what a show. I'm so excited for these last few episodes. So 8, 9, and 10 still to come over the next 3 weeks.
As a segue, because we're going to talk about Spider-Noir in a second, and Spider-Noir does not deserve all of these strays, but it's what we got this
It is
week.
what it is.
I want to uplift Widow's Bay even further just to say that this show exists because Katie Dippold was passionate about a story and a vibe and a tone and a type of show that she wanted to make. And she found incredible partners who were open-minded and excited to join in and bring their talents, and Hiro Murai and everyone else that she assembled to make the show. It only comes from that relatively pure creative act.
Yeah.
Which is rare in movies and in TV these days, where a lot of what we see is an example of people doing their absolute best work to clear a relatively arbitrary bar that has been set for them by rights holders or development executives or network executives or whatever. That's part of the job.
Yeah.
And it can be done
You guys
well.
are all free to write novels.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Like-
For free. To be subsumed by generative AI.
I think this is actually segues nicely into Spider-Noir, as you alluded to. So Spider-Noir is a new show, executive produced by Lord Miller on Amazon Prime. Whole season's already up. It is a extension, I guess, or a riff on a character that Nicolas Cage played in Across the Spider-Verse, I believe.
Yeah, in the Spider-Verse movies, he
Yeah.
voices a version of this character. I do think it's a sad sign of how cooked we are that all of the press for the show makes it clear that this is not the same character.
Yes.
Because it could be. This is another iteration or expression of the idea.
It's
of that
really
character.
weird that like they are making that like it's almost like they want to keep the sanctity of these animated blockbusters and do like a spin-off of it, but not explicitly, because like what if it doesn't work? We don't want to damage the brand. I don't know.
Well, also that but it's even more than that. It's that there is an established canon to these fanciful and honestly brilliant Spider-Verse movies that contain the idea that there are thousands of spider people, and sometimes spider horses and cars, and that each one has a very distinct identity. And so to protect the gentle souls of these devoted fans, they have to make it clear that this Spider-Noir is not the same Spider-Noir. There's just more than one.
Okay, gotcha.
Are you feeling better about
Yeah,
that?
this is a show set after World War I.
One.
And it stars Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly, who is this sort of retired Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
now private detective,
Mm-hmm.
investigating an honestly like beyond synopsis set of missing persons cases and trying to track people down and trying to get blackmail, and
Mhm.
interacts with several, I would assume, canonical Spider-Man
Iterations of them.
iterations of Spider-Man villains. It is an incredible cast of
Truly.
Cage, Lamorne Morris, Brendan Gleeson, Lucas Haas,
Lee Jun
Lee
Lee.
Lee Jun Lee, Cameron Britton. Like,
Your guy Jack Houston. I've
list
seen
goes
him in
on.
a minute.
You ever watch Boardwalk?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Do you remember Grantland?
We used to do the damn thing back then. We put 7 shows up
Yep.
and we talked about them.
Who put the shows up? The podcast?
The TV networks. They were like, here's 7 TV shows this year. Enjoy.
Oh, yes.
And we were like, yes.
I wasn't. I was like, actually, this is problematic. And people hated me for
Boardwalk Empire?
it. Yeah.
Was that the first time you snowflaked out?
I didn't, first of all, I've been snowflaking out since I first watched the triathlon in 1986.
Like, who will think about the sea life that these people are disturbing?
Oh, their legs are damp. Who wants to sit in a wet bike seat?
That is actually like a pet peeve of mine.
See?
Wet swim shorts on a bike seat, chafing.
Thank you
Yeah.
for speaking your truth.
Yeah.
Usually you hang me out
But
to
the
dry
way
with
I
this
say
stuff.
it sounds kind of cool and
does sound
like
cool.
normal.
You know what it also I know it also suggests that your childhood was like fucking Goonies all the time.
Yeah.
And I was just alone in my backyard going like this, except didn't have a backyard. Anyway, no, Boardwalk Empire, I was like, it was kind of like prestige karaoke even then. It had some moments.
The reason why Widow's Bay is able to pull off the 2 episodes that they did this week is because of choices, and confidence in those choices, and commitment to those choices.
Okay.
I think that nothing sums up how I feel about Spider-Noir, the 2 episodes that I watched, and sort of some light scrubbing through some of their episodes. Nothing sums up how I feel about it more than the fact that when you click play on the Amazon Prime Video app or site, you are offered a choice between true hue color or authentic black and white. Now, there's probably a reaction some people have where they're like, cool, I love choice. I want them to choose. I don't actually like this.
Present the show you want me to see.
And I think it's indicative of how I ultimately feel about this show, that neither looks very good.
I agree.
The black and white is not high contrast enough for my taste. It doesn't have the atmosphere of old noir movies that I think it's looking for. It kind of has a monochrome to it.
Yes.
And the true hue looks like running Sin City through a colorization program to like pop colors.
Mhm.
And I kind of found it really distracting. And I have to say, I don't know if I've really ever talked about this.
Oh.
I'm not a huge Nicolas Cage guy.
Wow.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like him at his peaks. I like him at his Lynch weirdness. I love Raising Arizona. I love Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
I love
Moonstruck.
I love The Rock and Con Air. But I am not like, everything this guy does is so fascinating and
I agree with
and
that.
awesome. And do you feel like he's like kind of playing with one hand behind his back in this game? Like, or something like, or I don't know. Why am I like, I'm like way more into Brendan Gleeson and Lucas Haas in this show than I am Nicolas Cage.
I feel like I'm going to meet you halfway on this. I think that Nicolas Cage being the star of the show and making the choices that he makes is probably the most interesting thing about it. That said, I agree that it ultimately is not that interesting. I think it's fun seeing an actor who I think this is not a controversial opinion, hasn't had laser focus for swaths of the last 2 decades in terms of his career choices. And
Got some notes to pay off.
It's true. So to see him kind of like relatively locked into something that he could do quite easily is amusing. And there are moments, like there's a moment in the 2nd episode when Ben Reilly pretends to be a plumber, and so it's Nicolas Cage pretending to be someone, and you feel the liveliness of it that pops even in I agree, the kind of cloudy black and white. Sidebar, like if you want to see an argument for black and white in the 2020s, watch Ripley. Which is every frame is so beautifully considered and composed that there's no other way that you could imagine seeing it. And I would say, I don't think this is
goat season,
but it's also, it's not anecdotal to say this. This was like Garrett Bash, who's the producer of that and producer of many, many other FX shows, works with Taika Waititi a lot, basically said that they just shot it one way and then they told Showtime, who they were making it for, that's what we did. Because Showtime was like, can you give us options?
Yeah.
And I think giving options is a hallmark of a successful contemporary creative career, but it is not necessarily the quickest or straightest path to great creative solution. So in the case of the show, Oren Uziel is the showrunner, and I think that he has done a really, really solid job doing something that I'm not sure is possible to do in a way that would satisfy.
Yes.
And what I mean is, he is clearly a talented writer and clearly a talented storyteller and clearly confident in the ways that are necessary to get something like this over the finish line and get it made. But some of the things that are most on display here is a very contemporary writerly skill, which is tightrope walking, which is finding or trying to find a healthy balance between the 2 great flavors that don't always necessarily taste great together. You can see the indecision in the options of how to screen it, but for me, the most damning indecision of the show is this a noir show or is this a superhero show? And I know which side I find more interesting, And I found it, as I watched a couple episodes of it, the constant safe return to the home base of, but actually that guy's the Sandman. Actually, it's just going to be a superhero
If he
fight.
gets pushed off the roof, he can always sling some webs to,
I found that, I don't even know what the word is. It's not disappointing.
No,
I just found it
like
non-elevating.
I think that because of the dominance of superhero and comic book stories over the last 20 years, you and I have often said, like, use it as a Trojan horse to make the thing you really wanted to make. And I don't back off of that. But if a guy gets shoved off a building, it's supposed to be a dramatic moment where you're like, is this it for this character? And, or, you know, even if he's just at the edge of the building, because that's a place, I'm sure there's dozens of more moments where guy's got a gun on our hero and he's standing at the edge of a roof and it's just like, what's going to happen? I think that if you can throw webs from your wrists to save your own life, it kind of just robs the dramatic moment. And that's something that comes up a couple of times in these 2 episodes that I've watched. I mean, as noir storytelling goes, I have found it a little bit too in between one long story and episodic stories of like, and now I have another case this week, you know? It's a cool idea and I applaud them being able to do it. There's also a little bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff happening here where I'm like, you guys, is it Spider-Man or what? Like, you know, like...
Choose.
Just if this is like, let these guys cook. Like, like let them have the toolbox or don't.
To me, what would be interesting, I hear your point about like, it's kind of a cheat code to reduce stakes if everybody can survive anything. The thing that I was disappointed to see, but not surprised to see, was that that everyone has superpowers.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me about the concept would be about a guy who's a private eye who is basically cursed with abilities that other people don't have. And then what do you do with it? Like the idea that he could, I mean, because it is a classic trope of detective fiction and noir that the detective takes more damage than anyone could possibly survive and keeps coming. He would have maybe a more legitimate reason for being able to get back up again despite the bruises, but the first person he encounters in his detective mission can ignite himself on fire, which is immediately makes me just, that to me that flattened the stakes. If there's going to be 2 shows where there are the normals, and Lamorne Morris is doing a great job playing Robbie Robertson, another canonical journalist character from the Spider-Verse. He fits into this world like a glove and is having a lot of fun, and the scenes with him and Nicolas Cage pop for me.
Yep.
But he's existing down here with the normals, and Ben Reilly's up here with the superpowered freak shows, and that is less. That I find that less interesting.
Did you like the stuff with Gleason and Haas, the Silvermane stuff?
I like those actors.
Yeah.
I like those actors. I think my biggest disappointment is as television shows budgets have gone up and visual spectacle has gone up, the opportunity to really to make the writing, for lack of a better word, more muscular and kind of the star has gone down. And certainly there are plenty of things that are overwritten, but the idea of the writing being the star of a show is not really in vogue. Everybody wants to have room to have the banter that goes bang, 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 and then the scene starts.
Yeah.
That bang, bang is noir. That's noir dialogue. And so I wish there had been more opportunities to play that out because instead it kind of fell flat to me. You have the trappings of what it's supposed to be with Lee Jun-Lee as an ingenue, femme fatale, and you have Ben Reilly as the put upon Gumshoe wanders into her place of business where he doesn't belong, and he's declassing the joint. And then you have dialogue where he's like, well, a singer has to know all the numbers. Maybe a detective has to know all the answers. That's not that snappy. That is a simulacrum of snappiness, you know? But again, there are a lot of mouths to feed when you have a show like this. And, you know, I want to be transparent because we touched on this when we brought up the trailer. Like this was something that I pitched on and I was involved in. And I don't want this to sound like sour grapes because I did not get this job. I did not deserve to get this job. And Orrin Uziel did a much better job than I ever would have. But it was interesting to be inside of the process of how stuff like this gets made. And truly, the way stuff like this gets made is off of the success of the Spider-Verse movies.
I think that anybody who works, most people who work in 2026 probably know the experience of, wow, there's a lot of people on this Zoom now. How did this happen? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, it's not a bad thing. Nobody involved probably has ill intentions, and the way that those things kind of bloat is natural, but you could probably do like a clear-eyed assessment of like, what is the reason why this person is now giving me notes about this stuff or whatever. And you're right, part of the job of the 21st century screenwriter showrunner is to please all the different stakeholders.
And because the genesis of this is Spider-Verse was a big hit. And so Sony and Lord & Miller sold a package of Spider-Verse shows, creatives unattached, to Amazon.
Yep.
And the first one, which was Silk, went through 2 or 3 showrunners over a period of years and eventually frittered out and never got made. The process that I was a part of for this one frittered out years ago and was stopped. And then restarted a year later, and then this was the development process of it. But even in my limited experience, like Lord & Miller I think they're geniuses with what they do. No one does what they do, and it's incredible to watch the final product of. They are also creators.
Mm-hmm.
So to walk into a process that's like, we have these toys, what do you want to do with them? Because Amazon's going to make the show if we hit the target that we haven't been able to fully articulate yet. And then you also have the stakeholders who wanted a superhero show, and the stakeholders who wanted to be involved, but maybe not as involved. And then there's the Marvel presence, and then there's Amy Pascal. And like, that's really, really hard. So I bring that up not to spill personal stuff, just to say, like, to get this show on the air looking really good is fucking amazing. Yeah. It's just ultimately not something I think we want to spend 8 hours watching. And it's incredible that it's there. All of these good intentions, good performance, and good thinking that went into it.
What do you think is the logic behind making it a binge?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I would say is maybe, like, if you watch The Boys, or if you remember how The Boys was released.
Yes, 3-1-1-1.
But the first season was a binge.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that Amazon has some internal metrics that are like, for this type of genre show or this fan base, it's better to give it to them.
Well, it seems like, if I remember correctly, I think Off Campus, which is a big hit for them, went up as a binge. I imagine any successive seasons of Off Campus, I could see that being pulled back. I think the Summer I Turned Pretty happened. I mean, it's been interesting to watch that network. I wouldn't say stumble into, because I'm sure it was very, very conscientious, like kind of owning YA and owning like young female romance stories.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a whole vertical there where it's like Obsession is in session, and it's like, not only is it a bunch of originals, but they've curated all these like movies that they think fit into this aesthetic. I wonder whether or not they'll continue to do stuff like that. And Peter Friedlander, who we remember from Netflix, is in charge over there now. But like, it'll be interesting to see if that streamer in particular becomes less about release dates and more about like centers of interest, verticals, basically.
I think that's a I don't know if it's smart. I think it is a clever and defensible programming strategy. But I would say that the executive mandates and executives themselves have moved around so much at a lot of these streamers and services that even what we have done podcasts where we were like, Paramount Plus's central argument for existence is coming into focus.
Yes. Right.
It's working for them. They found a couple things that work, and they're building from them, mostly Taylor Sheridan and it's just the shows that fit into that aesthetic. Taylor Sheridan's gone under the new leadership there.
I mean, Dutton's doing very well. And,
no, it continues.
I think he's going to finish out a couple of shows, but yes.
For sure. Dutton Ranch is a huge hit. I'm just saying that like he is now moving to Peacock. And so what will Peacock do? Similarly, Amazon seemed like it was finding some fertile ground with the YA stuff, and then also the MA stuff.
The Terminal List and Reacher and Jack Ryan and like dad stuff. Yeah.
And we don't fully know what their direction is going to be under Peter Friedlander, but I noted with interest, and we talked about this briefly with Kaya, not the show itself, but the release strategy, that Terminal List, I think, has been on the shelf and is finally getting a release date for its second season in October.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted to keep pumping that well until it was dry, they haven't really done it. And that might signal that that's not what they're doing. So I don't know. They
just want to get Terminal List closer to midterms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or are they trying to read the electorate? Do you think that the plight of the white Afrikaner farmer is like going to be a real driving issue in Maine?
I just wonder, this is probably a topic for a different show, but I wonder if I know that when we've talked to Casey Bloys, like when Casey came on the show, he talked about how he was like, I'm on spring of 28.
Yeah.
I'm planning out. HBO has that thing where there's this baton pass from one show to the other over the course of the year. There's usually like a couple of weeks of like docs or event programming or whatever, but you usually have like a Sunday night like show to hang your laundry on. And I just wonder whether or not, as people increasingly find themselves detached from the cable bundle and also watching things almost entirely on their own schedule and entirely up to their own tastes, in the same way that, like, I know Drake put 3 albums out last week, but in some ways I don't feel like that happened, because in my algorithm, it's just not a huge deal. Do you basically get away from the release schedule as a paradigm for television and make it more about, like, what we want is to have stuff there so that when people have found a vibe that they like, they can continue to watch things? Netflix has explored this for sure, but Amazon and their really strong links to the publishing industry, I think, is exploiting their kind of ability to be like, this book is hot, make it into a show. This book is hot, make it into a show. So it'll be interesting to be talking about this deep into the Tallarico administration,
I can't wait. I think that one of the less talked about in terms of the front-facing, like actually watching TV show storylines, is, are these streamers better served programming for untapped viewers who will sign up for the service, or
making deep obsessives of the people who already have it?
Yeah, and I think that was the Star Trek strategy that Paramount was doing for a while, of like, our floor is the however many people watch everything that says Star Trek on it, and we know that they'll pay for our service because that's what we have. There was some really interesting reporting in the last month, and also a good episode of the Town podcast about this, which is like Peacock saying, we're getting closer to profitability, and then looking under the hood and what does that mean?
Yes.
And the most interesting thing about that to me wasn't the rise in subscribers and what the NBA has done for them. It's the fact that, like, I'm paraphrasing here, but that the churn rate was still very, very high.
Of people signing up, and then, like,
they sign up for the NBA season,
to see how many
and
people cancel after NBA. Yeah.
And so maybe the tier isn't the subscriber number, it's the stability number of, like, how many people you maintain from the people you get at hot times.
It's one of the reasons why I've always been confused when there seems to be overlapping Taylor Sheridan shows, because I'm like, couldn't you just spread these out so that there's 12 months of Taylor Sheridan shows and you don't have anybody ever trying to cancel?
That sounds like a YP.
That's a me problem.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Top Chef and just do some After Dark, huh?
Yeah. Do you want to? So should we just wrap up Euphoria?
Oh yeah,
next week.
You can keep Euphoria. Well, I like After Dark for Euphoria. It mirrors Nate's last moments.
Well, should we? I mean, we could touch on it. I feel like we should hit it harder next week.
Yeah, but let's just. I wanted to just say I am up to date on Euphoria, as are you.
I am up to date on Euphoria. I'd like to text you to let you know I am.
This is the penultimate episode of the season and likely the series, I would imagine. And for the first time, perhaps in this show's history, I was bored. I've been using that as a bit of, like, a little bit of a metric, but I just found, despite the intensity of the episode, I felt like I had seen these scenes before. Like, we were repeating a lot of beats, and I thought cinematically there was some brilliant stuff in it. I would watch Coleman Domingo and Zendaya, as I have in the special that they did, where the two of them talk about addiction and spirituality and salvation and redemption extensively. I think that their relationship, Ali and Rue's relationship, is fascinating. And I thought Ali's, sort of origin story and him going through the pandemic, losing people that he's the sponsor of, was heartbreaking and
not only heartbreaking. One of the things, I mean this as a compliment about this season of television, is that there have been a number of fully formed, pretty compelling television shows just tossed out on the table, like stuff you find in your pocket.
And the shooting, like Natasha Lyonne makes a cameo as a prostitute living with Ali for a while. Like, the cutting and, like, the banter and the energy and the electricity coursing through that is absent when Maddie is on, like, page, like the 70th iteration of I'm a pimp, but I'm also a manager's assistant, but now I'm a pimp again. And I think ultimately, like, Levinson probably had to like unite the threads in some ways.
I didn't know he was going to try, honestly.
Lexi narcs out everybody and then Maddie narcs out everybody thing. I just really hit my head against that. I was like, I don't think these people would be that naive. I don't think Maddie would be so naive as to like idly tell Alamo that Rue is now working for the DEA.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
But didn't you feel it coming when she just brought it up herself, when Rue blurted it out?
Yes. And I felt it coming when that scene went on for a long time, being like, obviously this is going to get away from Lexi as she just passes this along.
And not to carry water for it, I was starting to feel like in this episode there is a version of, or there's a defense of the show baked into the idea that the Hollywood writer, from the comfort of her very nice apartment with beautiful old film posters that she clearly bought on Posterati, great place to browse. No ads, but I like it. That all of this madness is springing from her imagination in a way.
And that was a season 2 element, was like, you know, Lexi writing a play about season 2, basically.
So, okay.
But yeah, I think I had, the last time we talked about Euphoria, I had sounded the alarm that, or maybe when I was kind of monologuing about it, at which point I...
On the podcast or in your life?
On the podcast, where I mistakenly said that Jesus Christ saw the burning bush and not Moses, which goes to show you what Quaker education does for your biblical studies.
Was that the light within?
Yeah.
Was it the burning bush?
I just thought that the crime stuff was starting to reach it was getting a little high up in the atmosphere and losing oxygen. And I think this has been proven true. Like bringing together Alamo, Nas, Nate, Maddie, Cassie, and by extension, Rue and the Lori stuff. I just think it's just like, he has to do that to end the show, but it just didn't feel as graceful as some of the other moments of this series has for me.
I think the biggest compliment you could give the show is that it is a wildly expensive, wildly audacious, improvisatory exercise by someone who had not a blank check, but had a lot of open road and a lot of big stars and a very small window in which to get them all together and to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's diminishing returns in terms of just compelling entertainment, I think is fair to say. I do want to just circle back to the idea that Coleman Domingo is so alive in everything that he does. And the show, I don't know if it's a full show, but about a recovering addict who has become a sponsor trying to keep people alive during COVID, I would watch that show.
Sure.
And the short story version of it we got was incredibly compelling and also has something. This is not really a fair audience thing to do, I think, consistently, but sometimes I feel like you can feel a creator lean in, to things that are touching the third rail.
The Alamo origin story too. I'm sure I know that you were like probably rolling your eyes a little bit at that, but I thought that had energy and I thought it had POV. It had
juice.
Yeah, it had juice. And so...
And that is a marked distinction, I would say, from the scenes that increasingly to me feel like outtakes from like a Bugsy Malone movie where kids are playing dress up.
Well, and then you get to the Nate part, which is just like... I suppose on one hand, I could make a defense for it where it's like, you know what? Like, there is no such thing as character armor on the show. And or plot armor or whatever the term is, but like just because it's Jacob Elordi doesn't mean that he's going to escape from a burial. That was one of those character arcs that makes you frankly wonder like what the relationship between the creator and the performer is.
It's aggressive.
Because he doesn't really have a lot to do other than get mutilated this season and then he dies.
And I need your context for this because we touched on this, not watching the first 2 seasons. I am completely unaware of
that character is a bad fucking guy.
Right.
And like you could say...
So was this justice?
But that's the thing is that as Rue and Ollie talk about redemption and, how do you feel about like the fentanyl you've brought over has killed people and what is salvation and redemption in the eyes of that? Like, obviously Nate, I think that might be what they're trying to say is that like, this is a guy who didn't deserve to get out of the hole. I don't know. I mean, like that is also like, I would be very curious to know what Sam Levinson said about that. Maybe at the end of the season, he'll talk a little bit more openly about some of this stuff. You can also speak to Elordi's popularity as an actor and his busy schedule and wonder how much of this was like, we have X amount of time with Nate. It doesn't work. He's not going to be able to show up at Laurie's house with 2 guns to save Cassie or something like that. Here's what we're going to do with it. But that felt like a very small plot, like a subplot that just got extended for 7 hours. And it was an unsatisfying conclusion to an end of a character who's been on the show the entire time, I thought.
I hate the Maddie and Cassie story more.
Okay.
I find it just completely torturous to watch and so deeply uninteresting, especially because it just kind of, this episode just undoes everything that happened the episode before. It's like she's popular on OnlyFans. Now she's going to be in a TV show. Now she's not on a TV show. Now she's going to go back on OnlyFans. And it's like, I don't find that particularly compelling drama for characters.
There's also
that I'm
just
not.
something missing there where I thought Cassie was sending Nate money. Was he not using that money to even put?
Or had she stopped because during
she was like, "This
brief
is awesome.
respite,
I'm getting so much money, but I'm still living in like a courtyard apartment." I didn't really.
But maybe the money stopped concurrent with the brief pause on her OnlyFans account during the moment
people
she
canceled. But like, she would have made.
I don't know.
I just don't understand like what happened there. Like
I don't either. And I will say again, you know who is giving one of my favorite performances on the show is Sharon Stone.
Which is like, you're right. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, the Brian Grazer cameo.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good ideas and good performances tossed out here.
Yeah.
But what is it building towards? And I guess it's building towards, like most entertainments, a massive shootout.
Yeah. I thought it ended with like a really good like fuck cliffhanger, like Faye. A little out in front of her skis intellectually, probably as a character being like, I don't really know who to trust. I feel betrayed by Rue. I'm going to wake Wayne up. Now there's going to be like this drama. So excited for that. Excited for the finale.
When you're faced with a choice between an old friend and a Nazi, what can we do? It's kind of like voting in a Texas senatorial race.
Let's do Top Chef. Crash out season.
Wow.
This is spoilers for the most recent episode of Top Chef.
Yeah.
I
would say this episode was so upsetting. Kaya's not even here today.
Yes, she has taken a personal day to just think about Seeger and what he went through and whether that moose killed anyone. The chicken liver pate.
The moose, yeah, not the snake.
I enjoyed this a lot as television.
Okay.
Did you enjoy it as Top Chef?
His behavior
after the elimination cook, which takes place over the course of several. Multiple days, but then ultimately they have to cook in the woods in the heat.
It didn't bother, that part didn't bother me at all. Like, I'm excited to talk about it. It was unexpected, especially for a show that has increasingly trended towards, actually, we can all get along. Actually, I am here to make friends. So to see someone behave in such an unconsidered way was almost refreshing. I do think that the emails we got back, like asserting that Seeger is actually a pretty cool guy, all of them came from, I guess, Chef Seeger at hotmail.com.
There were people from, I think, Chicago who were like, that was actually not representative of who he is. And
I would say that it is. He still could be a good guy.
I think he just has a temper, yeah.
But yeah, I would say so. And so to see him crash out was a burst of energy in a show that hasn't had a ton of adrenaline this season.
We haven't had a moment like that in years.
And the judges were shocked
Yes.
by it. And it was such an insane hill to die on because, as you alluded to, he served melting chicken livers on a 100-degree day.
Yes, and I think that if he goes back and watches this show, whether he thinks it's edited against him or not, I think he would see, pride comes before the fall. And there was several moments where, whether it was the whole hog cook that sent him home the first time or this particular one where he was so confident that the gelatin was going to make his chicken liver.
Because he's done it before.
Because he's done it before, but probably not in the woods with coolers of ice, which one was left open at a certain point. And then I think like him trying to in fact, let's go to the tape on them.
That was wild.
Hasn't never worked in the history. Nobody's ever done that. I don't think anybody's ever been like, let's look at the bylaws of Top Chef.
Also, he
also tried to take Jonathan down with him.
He's also a good cook. He might be a good guy, as his friends attest. This is a TV show. And being a good cook and a good guy doesn't have anything to do with winning the very specific peculiarities of Top Chef, which involve cooking a dish to the rules, but also to the technical specifications and arbitrary likings of a well-established panel of judges.
Yes.
Let alone vox populi of like a bunch of people showing up and being like, I don't want to eat that.
Yes.
You lost on that alone, even if it was well executed, I think. So that was wild. And it was particularly wild because, as you just alluded to, he shouldn't have been there anyway. Like, the show messed up earlier by giving him a glide path back onto the show that almost no contestant has ever been granted the grace of having.
I don't even know if it was really that much of a glide path. I just think it is the way that they edited the series this year to allow for Last Chance Kitchen to have suspense. Also meant that there was like a 3-week liminal space of, is Jen on this show? Is Seeger on the show? Who's in Last Chance Kitchen?
They were caught very off guard by their own rules of a different sort. And I think Daniel Feinberg in The Hollywood Reporter has a pretty good blow by blow of the screw up. But basically, like, continuing to tell Jen that she could hang out for as long as she wanted to, even though she couldn't perform on the show, and also wasn't really lighting the place on fire anyway, created a circumstance where Seeger is outright eliminated, skips Last Chance Kitchen, where he probably would have been defeated by Rhoda, and then acts in this episode like he is entitled to a spot
Justin
in the
could
finale.
have taken Seeger's spot. You know, Justin could have just been like, yes, I will go instead of Jen. I will.
All of that, but the bigger issue is the show's clearly just ravaged budget is really, really showing up on the screen now. And I know that we spent time 2 weeks ago being like, they never go outside anymore. And then they were literally outside sweating, watching their parfaits melt this week. But there's different versions of outside and being outside. And a week in which they go to Asheville, which in some ways is the show at its best, being like, as chefs, we have a unique role.
The Asheville part was fantastic.
The Asheville part was okay. And here's why.
The Asheville part made me want to go to Asheville.
100% successful.
Yeah.
So if that is the goal, to both highlight a place that looked awesome and also highlight its recent struggles and suggest what we can do and why we shouldn't forget about it. So mission accomplished. In terms of the flow of Top Chef, I would say an episode in which they're like, we're not going to do a quick fire. You guys are going to get into unbranded vans because we lost the BMW sponsorship and drive 2.5 hours to a town in which you will drive by 3 to 4 interesting sounding restaurants and eat snacks at one with no judges or the host present felt pretty rinky-dink to me. Like, have the courage of your convictions and fucking film there. Or tell Kristen to get in one of these cars and go there
It's
too.
strange
and
too,
don't be
because-
like drive by. I mean, this is what I do when people visit LA, where I'm like, that's a pretty cool small plates restaurant. And my guests are like, should we go there? And I'm like, no, we couldn't get in. Like, what purpose does that serve for anyone other than my own ego? Do you know what I mean? Like, that was insane. And then later,
Can we eat there if you want to eat at 4:45 or 10 p.m.?
yeah,
Yes.
you're welcome to it, but I'll be in bed at both those times, weirdly. But like, then when Rhoda's like, I made Filipino food because I was inspired by this
And the
restaurant.
guy's
The
like,
chef's
"That's my
That's
restaurant."
my restaurant. Like, okay, could we see it? Oh, you couldn't afford to show it to us?
It's a
Come
strange
on.
thing because a lot has happened this season where I feel like they have been battling the elements. As my wife pointed out the other day when we were chatting about this, she was like, you know, it goes back. You remember the finale of Denver where like people's bread didn't rise because they were cooking on the top of a mountain. You know, like
I think about it constantly.
this is not the first time that Top Chef has made elements an element of the show.
There's the rain in the Portland season.
And there's also, you know, I think I am being a little bit more easily annoyed by, you know, and now everybody switch foods with the person to your left, or
That was despicable.
you know, and now mystery diners are voting and we're not, or now like there's a lot like
Remember when they were like, and now let us bring out our guest judge for Quickfire, a guy no one's ever heard of. Congratulations.
Yes.
You really
But the
really
strange
did
thing
it.
to me is that Canada, which I know was a passion project for Gail, and I have the
Yeah.
show go there, was in my memory largely shot on a soundstage.
Yes, it was.
And North Carolina and South Carolina, which seems hot as fuck, has been 10 shots, like 10 shoots out, like at a NASCAR track or in the middle of a public park or in Asheville in the forest, or not Asheville in the forest because they went back to
They went
to
back and
Charlotte
they cooked
for the
out
forest.
on the Appalachian Trail with a snake.
That just seems like, why'd you guys do that? I mean, I guess maybe they listened to us and we were like, get the fuck outside. And they were like, you asked for it. Now it's hot as shit and nobody's mousse congeals. Like, I guess we should take some accountability there. Not that we can dictate what Top Chef does, but I just feel like there's been, and Feinberg and the Hollywood Reporter, it's a really good piece, writes about these two institutions that I agree with Dan. I wish every Monday had a Top Chef and every Wednesday had a Survivor. I would be a happier person if it was like a 12-month a year thing. But
and which night are the Sheridan shows running in this 12-month scenario?
They just run on my Vision Pro.
There you go.
I think that in some ways, like, they've iterated too much to keep up with maybe perceived Joneses.
I don't think it's the iteration. I just think there's a budget thing going on that we're not qualified to talk about or even ask about. And I think that the answer to the question, if you ask it too loudly, is, do you still want the show? And it is the only reality show left, competition show left.
Watched?
No, it's the only competition show on Bravo. It didn't used to be. I mean, Project Runway, and remember, I was still a fan of Work of Art, the Art World one with Jerry Saltz.
Couldn't Magical Elf sell it to Food Channel, like Food Network?
I have no idea. It clearly still works on some level for the Bravo Comcast brand.
Yeah.
It's just they want it to work in this way. And I think you can see this is a small thing because we watch it, we either watch screeners or we watch it on Peacock, but currently this season the show is premiering on Bravo Linear on Mondays at a time TBD each week. So much so that I saw Kristen on social media being like, don't forget, we're on at 9:30 tonight for some reason. Like,
She said that?
Yes, they're not loving that aspect of it.
Because it's getting swallowed up by like Summer House stuff, right?
I would assume.
Yeah.
But I do think it needs a rethink because this host and these judges can make worthwhile television, and the finale still could be good. It's not their fault that they tried to iterate by having brothers and a couple, and it amounted to nothing.
Yeah, I find that the judges have been marginalized this season too. There's way too much noise going on around them. I don't feel like I'm hearing. The thing that I love about this show, and probably my greatest engagement with it, was this sort of run where I think they encourage chefs earlier in the season to cook, quote, their food.
Yeah.
And you can think it's cheesy to be like, I'm telling a story or this is about like my background, but it actually produced compelling televisual storytelling to have somebody be like, I've grown up through this, French culinary tradition, but now I'm really going to start cooking the stuff that my mother used to make me, but put my spin on it. Or I'm bringing technique to something that traditionally is very rustic, or whatever it is. I feel like Tom and Gail and Kristen, and then at various points, before Padma, were really like, you're on Top Chef, fucking impress us. Like, do it. And now I feel like there's just been way too many goofy things that have stopped someone like, for instance, Sherry or Jonathan, who I just think Sherry is only now starting to be like, I'm making this fritter because this is this thing that, and nobody's ever had this before or whatever. And, even Lawrence, who I don't think is very like demonstrative about what's going on, but has been cooking this amazing food all year. I don't even feel like they're celebrating it. I don't feel like they're...
Well, because I think that the ceiling this season has just been wildly lower. Now, again, you cannot... This is the vagaries of a competition show. You cannot guarantee a Buddha, a Gregory, a Tristan...
Survivor 50 just had this, where it was like all the really great players kind of got voted off, and I think Aubrey's good, but like... You just have, like, at the end, a sort of weird mishmash of people.
Yeah, and I think that there was a moment earlier in the season where we're like, oh my God, Rhoda is another, like a Melissa or someone who's just like, Melissa King, like, who's just like, day one, oh my God. You are rising to every occasion and you're surprising yourself, and we're on a generational run here. Or, you hope for someone like a Tristan who catches fire later and you're like, oh my God, the prince who was promised was here all along.
Yes.
You can't guarantee that year after year. But what we're creeping towards now is... Lawrence is going to win, which is deserving.
I don't know about that anymore.
But what he has done is a very, very technically precise and satisfying execution of what you were talking about, which is like, I grew up eating this kind of food in a Cantonese household, and I am going to be able to execute a version of it that is elevated.
Yeah, like a fried catfish on a bow is like really cool.
And he baked the bread. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was an incredibly compelling performance on Top Chef, in which you, the viewer who can't taste the food, sees the degree of difficulty and can just see that they nailed the execution, and that's satisfying as a viewer. The rest of them are just kind of stumbling their way to the finish line, and maybe someone will step up. But I find it very hard to imagine that there's going to be a level of excitement, exhilaration, or inspiration in a finale for the way this season has played out. And I think it would be a mistake,
I think Rhoda, Lawrence, and Sherry is a good final three.
It would be a decent final
Jonathan's
three.
still there, obviously.
The loss of Anthony hurts. That was a bummer.
That sucked.
But I think that it would be a mistake to walk away from the season and be like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes, like, was the guy that won Denver, like, perfectly, like Joe. Seems like a really good guy, good chef, good on TV.
Good.
But, like, not necessarily the heights of ambition or technical,
or maybe not the drama of Brooke and Kristen or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
So, okay. So you can't guarantee that every year. There have been down seasons in terms of the excellence on display or whatever. But I think it would be a mistake to focus on that at the expense of the fact that the clear diminishment of ambition and budget is hurting the final product of the show. And I don't know what to do about that because we're lucky to still have it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like that's the
I would like
elephant
to
in the
also,
room.
like, at some point, we have gotten so many emails about the Padma show. And
did they have budget? Maybe they did.
I think it might be worth checking out a little bit more thoroughly to see. It's odd that it was running concurrently, like,
I mean, not odd,
aggressively. Let's wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Monday, this Euphoria finale.
Yeah, and so there's a couple other shows I want to check out.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll be for Monday, but we have Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed on Apple. We have the Amadeus show that is on Starz that was on the UK last year.
Doves, yeah.
Feel like there's probably others. I feel like
we need to also address the fact that, like, we're getting a lot of new shows.
Yeah.
And
it's tiring.
It's hard to finish them.
Did you watch The Burrows?
I did. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched like 3 episodes of it.
Is it weird to see actors that we think of as relatively young
Talked
people
about this
be
with
like
Joe.
in
This
Cocoon?
is just like, yeah. Yeah.
Is it, like
it's very well done, though.
A friend was telling me about the show and was like, well, there's a great scene in Bill Pullman's retirement home. And I'm like, I'm going to need you to stop there.
It's true. It's true. Kai, Sarah, thank you. Kaya, thank you. Andy, thank you.
Kaya's coming back for the Top Chef finale. That's why she's not here today.
Thank God. We'll see you guys on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend.
You have a great weekend.
Yeah.
I include you in that.
Thank you.
All the Branskys.